everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Human Design Advantage. Today is Sunday, April 3rd, 2022, and we are on episode number 8. And the episode today is In the Moment and Along the Way, recognizing the right now of it all. It's the sharpest tool in the shed.
It
Hello, Dan.
is.
How are you
Hey,
today?
Jennifer, it's great to be back. We're starting to wind down the series of demystifying human design. We're just trying to get it into a practical box without having to go through all the mechanics like a whole, class to demystify this at all. And one of the biggest tools is to understand everybody's right now, for everyone to understand their right now.
Absolutely. That is the important. And we've had some amazing feedback this week with the sessions that you have been doing. And we're going to be getting all that information uploaded for you guys. You can definitely go check out our YouTube channel to see the reactions that we're getting back from people who are waking up to their true human design. And while you're over there, please make sure that you like and subscribe and follow the channel so you don't miss out.
Lots of likes and lots of subscribes, please.
Yes, we are actually getting some, like I keep seeing everybody who's watching the videos and the likes and the comments, and me and Dan are on a mission to make sure that we get this information out, not just for us, but as a co-collaborative effect. So we are actually seeking other human design readers and people who are tapped into this to really start making an impact globally. So if you are interested in either coming onto the show, being a guest speaker, please make sure to send me a message. I would love to chat with you, because coming this month, we're going to be opening it up to Wednesday night shows as well, where we're going to work on having guests on to tell their story about human design and how it's impacted their life.
And whenever there's not a guest, we'll pull up a celebrity chart and talk about that.
Yes.
And the clarion call is out. We're very open. So whoever wants to come in and chime in, please do. The more souls we have, the better.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I was telling a couple of people this week, that it is the more souls, the more we talk about this, the more that we get this information out, is how we're going to make a bigger impact on the planet. So last week we went over the mental awareness and the Great Awakening. Do you want to kind of give us a synopsis, Dan, of what we discussed last week, and then we can jump into today's show?
Yeah, we finished up with these vortex that we are in the middle of. I explained how the G center sits in the middle and doesn't have its own individual awareness as it relates to the 3 awareness centers, but it sits in the middle. It's in the middle of a vortex of our own awareness. There's a trinity of an awareness. When there was only really the 2, the spleen and the ajna, there just wasn't quite the motor to start a vortex. As soon as the 3rd one showed up, Shazam, there it was.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we can actually pull up the very first slide.
Let me go ahead and pop that onto the screen.
Yeah, in the moment and along the way, how the right now of it all matters to everyone's moment-to-moment life. What you're looking at is, in the earlier episodes, we just talked about the circuitry, the collective shares, the tribe supports, the individual empowers. I mean, literally, we empower the other. So there's only this circuitry, what you're looking at, the individual circuitry. It's called the knowing circuit. And because the individual knows or it doesn't know. If you recall, I would have described what that knowing is like, how it's in a pulse. It happens in the moment. You can't control it. It's not up to you. And this is a surrender for people. It's like, I want to know now. Sorry, you can't know now. It's in a pulse. And when it shows up, run with it. Till then, wait and surrender and do some dishes or take out the trash. It'll show up as soon as you're doing something else that's mundane and routine. That's when the knowing shows up. As soon as you're not looking for it. Sort of like we all know love. You can't look for love. It'll find you, right? This is the mantra of humanity. And we know that's true. When we try and push our love onto another, we don't have that love affair. It's when it happens, it's in a pulse. And this circuitry, which is you're looking at the individual circuitry, this is the only circuitry that lights up the whole body graph. Look at it, touches every center. And the other circuitries do not touch every center. None of them. The tribe, there's no tribe in the head center, head and ajna. So I would have gone over that last week, how the head and ajna and all this mental busyness on our plane is so not who we are. And the tribe has no way into that. That's why it's so powerful. And how the collective has no ego. There's no ego in the collective. The collective just shares. It's got no willpower. It just shares. And it shares everything. It shares its hope. It shares its pain. It shares its good ideas. It shares its stupid opinions. I mean, it shares its death and destruction. Let me share my death and destruction with you, I would have said last week and the week before. But let's just point at these awareness centers again so we can see this vortex that this individuality is happening. So we've got the spleen on the far left, our oldest, and this is so powerful, but it's quiet and it only speaks once, and we can't know why it speaks. We just need to listen to it. And then Savannah has this as her inner authority. For instance, she must listen to her right now all the time, even when it tells her to do things that appear stupid. You listen to it, and that's the experiment. Is do it, and suddenly you see, oh my God, wow, it works. It's aware, moment to moment, what keeps you safe. And then the ajna, the green up top, the green triangle pointing down. Mental awareness holds on to it over all of time. That's why the mind is such a, it's such a petty tyrant to us, because it holds on to everything. You didn't love me when we were in high school, so whatever. So I'm still mad at you. Holds on to everything over all of time. And we're not here to hold on to everything over all of time. We're here to have the memory of it, but not to hold on to it. That takes us away from our in the moment. And no longer are we in the moment. And along the way, when this ajna center, whether it's defined or not, is holding on to everything over all of time. But it's a great awareness. The awareness is I can think up stuff. I'm aware that unlike the rest of the mammalian population, I can put two things together and have a synthesis of something completely different. I mean, it was a great idea in old Rome to come up with a form of a sewerage system.
Yep.
What good mind, nice mind, good mind, go to work. Let's do that. It's sanitary. That's what mind does. It makes roadmaps. It comes up with traffic patterns. It
comes up with solutions.
Solutions, absolutely. But those solutions have nothing to do with our truth. They're secondary. The solutions support the truth. And our truth is constantly coming from inside our body. So that mind is overpowering to the spleen. The spleen is very powerful, but the mind overpowers it because it hangs on to a vibration called I think this, and it holds on to it over all the time. I think that guy's a jerk. I think I need to make more money. I think this, I think that. I think I'm not good enough. I think I'm holding on to a trauma, blah, 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 and on and on. And then we have the most powerful awareness. It's the newest awareness, the solar plex, the brown triangle to the far right. That points in. So look at this little trifecta, this little trinity that is circling around. Pretend there's a vortex going to the spleen, the ajna, the solar plex, spleen, ajna, solar plex. And what's it circling? It's circling that identity, that G center. The yellow diamond in the center. It keeps circling it, and it creates a vortex of awareness that, if you recall, on a previous episode, when we went through the centers, the G center empowers our direction. It takes this great sacral force from below and other things, but mostly this sacral force from below, and it shoots it straight up those three channels from the red sacral box right up to there, and it empowers our love. It says, it gives us our new tantra, the Tantra is our love must be in a direction. That is the new human Tantra. When we were seven-centered beings, the old human Tantra was our sexuality feels good and it's under pressure. Let's release that pressure. So we're still living in that old seven-centered way, and many of us will recognize in our new nine-centered way. Since 1781, the new children being born came out as with the new availability of our emotional awareness. It showed up with the ability to have, not the ability, the wiring for nine centers to be emanating out their wisdom, what they do, their genetic way for us. They were always there. They were just dormant. And in 1781, an astronomer named Herschel discovered the planet Uranus. And when that human did that, he sent a spike through the entire collective, through the entire consciousness of the planet. And the next thing you know, it was time. And our genome said, just like when we're born, our genome said time to expand. So its expansion took us away from our old sexuality, essentially, and turned us into the new Tantra, which has plenty to do with sexuality in a way, but mostly it has to do with love. Have you ever noticed sexuality turns empty sooner or later without a love that moves in a direction?
Correct. Yes.
That sound right? Yeah. So, so Savannah's on. She's hearing all this, right?
Yes, Savannah is, and Antoinette is too. I'm waiting to see.
She made it. Yay!
Yes, she did.
Oh, thank dear God. Cool. So this empowered direction for love, it's all right now. The sacral empowers the now. There's nothing else to be said about this. Since it empowers right now, the sacral is a responsive box, right? It's the responder. Every generator has a response, a moment-to-moment response that ends up being their truth. And it's empowering this identity in this direction, and all we care about is pushing our love in a direction. It's so powerful. It's why all our movies know that the hero that loved his country, loved his daughter, loved his family, whatever, loved his community, they always have this archetype of a manifestor hero that saves the day and rallies the forces, and right? This is our human unique expression. We love this. So sex is good, love is better. Although it's hard to tell when you're having sex because sex is good. So it's still confusing. But as we wake up to our in the moment and along the way, the right now of it all, we start to realize, hey, the most profound circuitry in our body graph that we can rely on moment to moment over and over again is this individual circuitry. It's the sharpest tool in the shed to recognize the creative spark that I am happens in a pulse. It happens in a moment. It's not of your choosing. Jen, help me think of an example of something that's just in the moment. It's like, oh my God, that just happened. And you couldn't have predicted it.
In the emotions, when emotions
Emotional,
come
it
up,
doesn't, sure, speak from your emotional voice because you have an emotional definition.
in the moment, inspiration comes in the moment sometimes.
Right, and it's not there beforehand. It's not
Correct.
there, and then it's there.
Correct.
Right, that's our individual circuitry is empowering that, constantly empowering that. And look at a couple of logical things. Again, human design is a logical system. This is a science, the science of our differentiation, that which makes us different. And empowered in the now with this circuitry touching every single center. Look, it touches the spleen right now. What keeps you, love keeps you safe right now. Mm-hmm. The mind, it's touching the mind. The empowerment of my love in a direction is a good idea. The mind comes up with lots of great ideas, and it's empowered to know and have opinion. I got a great opinion. Let's buy a house. I got a great idea. Let's make some babies. I know some stuff. I know how to build a house. That love builds the house. That ego, which the individual circuitry touches through the warrior and the priest, making this channel of initiation, which you have, Jen. It's this initiates and sparks the life into action, and it says we will leap and do this thing, but it can only happen in the now. Our now is
That's in the now. That's true. That's in the
it's
now.
always in the now. It's the sharpest tool in the shed. I remember when we were all on a mission when we were down in Georgia, and in the now, Antoinette knew to stay back, and in the now, you and I and Joelle and our crew, we didn't know shit, but that we were going to move forward. You know, we had, what did we have? We had who is it? Tyler had a picture in his head of a tree, and that's how we found where we needed to be. Remember?
Yes.
We didn't know, but we get off we went like little warriors. And as it turns out, all 6 of us were correct. The 5 of us that went and the 1 of us that held back. Think of all the space that was held for us. When we came back, Antoinette saved us with food. She poured her love into food, and we ate and nourished ourselves. And that fueled our direction into a night of Ram Dass and all kinds of incredible conversation and deep, deep bonded love.
That was a magical night. I had to keep telling myself that was not your real house because Antoinette had the whole place. It was like it was your actual home. That was one of the most magical evenings I've ever had in my entire life.
That home empowered the love and direction of it all.
It was all love. And that whole evening, all of us together, the food, everything, it was just all love.
So it was great, right? We remember.
And it was in the now.
And it was only now. Each new moment was right. It's the sharpest tool in the shed, our now. Our mind holding on to things over all of time about this sucks, that might not sucks. If I do this, then I'll get that. That's not true. That's not our truth. We hold on to that. It drowns out our responder if we're a generator. It confuses the emotional wave if we're emotional. If you have a splenic authority like Savannah has, it literally drowns it out so that she can't, in those moments, it's hard to hear that quiet, intuitive hit moment to moment to moment. So how much of that, none of that had anything really to do with sex or bonding and intimacy. Well, I'm just saying there was no real sexual tantra driving that. The tantra was love.
It was only love, and it was more of a love of community, a love of unity, a love for each other, of seeing each other where everybody was at.
Yep.
It was a tribal.
Very tribal. Suddenly we were in absolutely. We were in a tribal setting and we were incredibly tribal. And to show the power, the ego willpower of that tribe had something shown up on our doorstep that required immediate action. There were 3 men and 4 women, or maybe we were 4 and 4. I forget what it was. We would have instantly taken our relative designed features and acted out those parts to deal with whatever showed up in the moment, right? If something showed up, we would have all been in the right place at the right time, doing what we needed to do as a tribal unit, supporting the other.
Mm-hmm.
The door blows open because a microburst shows up and everything's blowing all over the place and there's a lightning strike. We would have all been battening down the hatches and we would have acted as a little, military unit, which is a tribe.
Savannah wants to know, so all-knowing individual gate channels have a melancholy to them?
They have a melancholy, and many of them have a fear. So let's look at the things that take us away from our right now and along the way. So go to the fears, the purple slide. We're looking at what takes us away.
Hold on. Come on.
We can't go over all the gates of melancholy. There's too many, so people need to look at them for themselves. And you can look this stuff up online to get clearer pictures. There's this stuff is starting to explode online. I'm noticing everyone's doing it now. It's like.
So Savannah was asking some questions, and it actually did have to deal with some anxiety. And that's interesting that she said that because we were going to talk about anxiety. It's been kind of high in the collective recently, Savannah.
It sure has. It sure has. So
But real quick, she wanted to know, would people that make, would this make people, hold on, would people like that make them struggle with depression?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get to the melancholy in a moment. All individual gates have this chemistry we call melancholy. Flesh that out however you want. Sadness, I'm low, I'm blue, I'm not motivated, and I'm housing it under the keynote of simply melancholy. That's the keynote Ra gave us, and it's perfect. But these are the gates of the fear. So we have an irony, a conundrum here. Fear drives intelligence. I'm afraid, so let's band together. Fear drives intelligence. It drives it. The Ajna Center, with all this mental activity of figuring stuff out and concepts, the fears in the Ajna Center drive us to get smarter and smarter and smarter, more and more concepts, like a sewerage system, for instance. I'm afraid we're all going to die if I just keep letting the sewerage not go where it needs to go. And the solar plex, these are the fears that are just, they're hard to even grapple with at times because they're so new to us. And all of these fears take us away. We're not going to go over all of them, but I'm going to deal with a couple of fears that I know this panel has that just show up in the moment. I know that we have 48 on the spleen. So the spleen on the far left, those 7 fears there. The bottom one, 48, depth.
Mm-hmm.
The gate of depth is so aware that it's got so much depth that keeps being fed, and the lifetime makes it deeper and deeper and deeper. And that spleen is aware moment to moment to moment. I've collected this depth, and it wants to spit it out. It's enthusiastic. The depth is there to create logical patterns that preserve us. It drives the intelligence of all the logical, not all, but gate 18 drive the fear that drives the intelligence to create logical patterns. It's a nice pattern that, we shorten, at least it's nice enough that we shorten the workday from a 16-hour workday to an 8-hour workday. That was a good pattern. It was healthy for us. Someone think of a micro pattern, a little pattern that is so healthy for us moving into the future.
A healthy pattern, like
a pattern for society, a pattern that it's in the collective stream, it's in the collective circuitry, so it must be shared. Healthy patterns that we want to share.
Exercising.
Okay, love it. It's a nice healthy pattern. Bam. Suddenly the depth over time recognizes our body gets healthier. Our body's intelligence is more at the ready in the moment to be intelligent for us and act quickly, because we've seen the pattern. When we were a kid, we didn't even know we needed to exercise because we were indestructible. So as we get older, we get wiser and we keep picking up that depth. But look at the fear. There's a deep fear of inadequacy in that gate 48. My depth isn't deep enough. I'm not adequate in the moment. I don't know if I should speak now. I have a sudden hit in the moment, and it struck fear into my body. Now, guys, fear is a chemistry. Remember, we don't have anything until the chemistry says, yeah, you have it. So
Savannah has an excellent question. So what do you do with these specific fears in our body chart? How do you utilize it instead of it overwhelming?
You utilize it by A, allowing it, B, having the mental. So mind is good here. Mind can now measure. Oh, I have the mental cognition that fear is going to drive intelligence. So allow the fear, because it's only supposed to be there for a moment. Again, the animal always shakes it off. Lion chases it, it gets away, it takes it off, goes back to its herd and eats some grass. They don't hang on to that. We're not supposed to hang on to this stuff. It's like, I'm afraid I might not necessarily have everything that I need as it relates to depth. And suddenly, if it hangs on to that fear, it starts thinking about things on why it's not good enough. And suddenly there's an anxiety. And suddenly it won't go away. It's just supposed to drive the intelligence of, oh, exercise was good. Okay. I didn't exercise today. I'm afraid I didn't exercise. Okay. there's a new subject coming up. I might not have a foundation on this subject. I don't know enough. I feel inadequate to teach this class, to do this activity, to partake in this thing. Okay, you feel inadequate in that moment. That's great. Yay. So partake if you want, and maybe just don't talk as much. Wait and listen. If someone calls on you, now you can be honest. It's like, oh, I don't know that I have the adequacy to actually throw in here. I'll pass and pass on to the next one.
I love what you say about that. And Savannah's chiming in on this end, and she said, so just being aware of your fears can take away its power. And I'd like to chime in on this because, this week I've noticed a lot of things going on in the collectively and in the collective. And also I wanted to pull it in because I'm experiencing in my own world. And we had this conversation about bringing awareness to it. Dan kills it. And I think everybody on some level right now is experiencing fears and anxiety because that's what collectively we're supposed to do. It's all on the forefront for us to work on. And
Hold on
that
to.
you saying bringing the awareness to it kills it. And I've been doing that.
Seeing it kills it.
And it does. It's acknowledging it. And then also in that moment, being the observer and either doing something else. Like for me, what I do is Ho'oponopono in that moment because I have the awareness, the fear is there. I'm detaching from it. I'm being the observer, and I'm able to work on it at that time.
And suddenly in your Ho'oponopono, I shortened it to Joop because H in Spanish is J in Spanish sounds like an 8. So JO''OP, Joop, just because it's less syllables and I'm a dude.
Yes.
And I can do that because I want to. And so that's a perfect place to literally continue to just keep being aware. So in that Joop, while you're doing that, suddenly you're aware that it didn't matter. You're aware it didn't matter. Is that true?
Mm-hmm. It didn't be. Well, I'm also noticing that the fear that is coming up is something that I need to work on. But the more that I am working on it and narrowing it down and not attaching myself to that fear, I can do that and clear it. So it's I'm doing multiple things in that moment, but again, it's the awareness that's allowing me to do that.
Welcome to the magic of our right now and along the way. If we get out of the right now, so humanity is right flipping now at all times. It's not just the Buddha that lives now. It's not just the monk on the mountain that did 20 years in a monastery that is now. It's not just Bruce Lee that is right now. Those guys don't own right now. We all do. We all do. Our genome is right now.
And it is the sharpest tool in the shed now that we're talking about this. It really is.
It's the sharpest. Yeah.
And it's not easy. Believe me, guys, I am a mindfulness practitioner. What really set me into being in the right now is because I'm a recovered alcoholic. And when I went back to AA, because I was a revolving door, they said take one day at a time. And I literally did take it one day at a time.
That was AA's glorious wisdom. I love AA. They're one of the only institutions that doesn't seem to have a draconian hierarchy, and still
they do. It's a pyramid, but that's a whole different show.
Okay. Well, from whatever I've seen, they appeared as you come in, you are welcome. It seems like one of the more communal places on this planet. And it's routine everywhere you go. It's the same format. Commune.
I want to just say this, not that I have anything against it. It was life-changing for me, and I do feel like it is the steps to a spiritual awakening.
Absolutely.
And it did teach me a lot about mindfulness. And it is a program, outside of the forefathers who founded Alcoholics Anonymous. It did trigger for all the other anonymous groups to
adopt it.
Yes, but over the years, the reason I said that it is because I do feel the system has tainted the true essence of what the program is all about.
But notice that tantric love. I've been to AA meetings with a past best friend and a past girlfriend, and the love in that room, The love in
Yes.
that people with tears. Tears are joy, by the way. Even though they feel as if they come from sadness, they empower us. When does a tear happen? It only happens right now. You can't be like, well, I'll have a tear at 4:15 this afternoon. That's not how tears work. They come out now.
Yes, you're exactly right. And I've been expressing a lot of those recently too.
Good, good. So some water comes out your tear ducts, and suddenly you're emotionally aware of this robust, rich, right now, new truth. Clarity for you. For you, the clarity comes in a wave. You don't choose its timing. You're living in a pulse, moment to moment to moment, and then bam, clarity shows up, just like a pulse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that fear drives intelligence. That's the point. And we've got this vortex ripping around this. You see these three centers again. They're highlighted in two blue and one purplish color.
Yes.
I wish I had better names. What color is that purple? It's like
Um.
it's whatever. So
Yes, purple. I know what it's. I can't think of the
you
word.
know who knows? Antoinette knows what color. It's like fuchsia, she'll say, or something.
Yes,
Yeah.
indigo. That's right.
Indigo.
Thank you.
Someone told you that, right? Okay. So these three colored centers, look at it. They look like they're almost equidistant from the G center, which isn't colored in, but the diamond in the center. And the individual empowering pulse of individuality, the individuality circuitry, is the only thing that touches all of these centers. It touches all the centers. And so it's in the pulse that the vortex in the now, our sharpest tool in the shed, is constantly ripping around. And you don't need to have it defined in your body graph. You can have an open head center. You can have an open spleen, an open solar plate. You can have all three of them open. And the vortex is still working just fine. It just means you're open to the stuff instead of having it defined in one fixed way. So that vortex rips around. The fear drove the intelligence, and the new tantra of our human way, our human nine-centered communal way, says this love is something that moves in a direction. And in an AA meeting, everyone says, I love you, brother. And that brother is so empowered in that moment. Think about it. And or sister.
It is.
And
It
in
really
that moment
is.
they just flush with tears and this, it's like they're releasing it all. And we try to come up with names for this releasing, and that's good, but the truth is they're releasing all of this stuff, and it's happening in a pulse, in a moment that they are incapable of. If you can't control it, it's there right now. It's their sharpest tool. It's AA's sharpest tool for damn sure. And they put it to pretty good work. I just, every time I went to one of those meetings, I just was like, God, you guys, you really, you're doing it. Government should work a little bit like that,
Savannah had a comment. She said, so don't project yourself into the future, just stay in the now.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. True. And when you do project yourself into the future, run with it for a second so you can see it's who you're not. Live it out, and you'll be like, hey, that didn't serve me too well. I spent the last 2 hours projected into the future about why this won't work. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. Let's look at the fear of the future. Gate 57 in this spleen. Gate 57 is intuitive clarity. It means it's just, you can't explain it. It's an unknowable clarity that penetrates the now. All three of you on here have a defined spleen. You know what that moment to moment hit of, no, this is no good for me, is like. And it drives a fear. One of those fears is the fear of tomorrow. Fear of tomorrow. I'm afraid of tomorrow. I'm afraid of my immediate future. I don't know. And all it's really supposed to do is do what it does for the animal. It makes their ears perk up, and it's like, do I got anything to worry about now? No? Okay, go back to eating. But again, they don't have a neocortex that hangs on to the concept of what that fear might have been over all of time. So it's the fear of tomorrow. All of these fears up at top in the ajna center, this conceptualizing. If you have an open ajna, you're trying to be certain. You're concerning yourself with all the ways in which you're not certain. You have this thing about not wanting to appear uncertain. It's just this clusterfuck of fears and read these things off. Gate 47, anxiety over futility, and it's all a mental anxiety. So the splenic fears are deep gut fears. They're fear. Hi, kitty. Hey, your kitty looks like Willie, my kitty. So again, spleen is just afraid in the now. It's a primordial fear of instant survival, life and death, and it's sharp and striking. The mind is a little bit slower, but it comes on right away. It's an anxiety. It's anxiety, mental pressure, and it just drives us into like, I want to go to sleep. Just give me, let me numb this out. Most of what we're numbing out is what's going on in these next two awareness centers. When we're numbing it out with alcohol, with this, with that, with binging on a TV show, whatever it is, we're numbing out these fears. Anxiety over futility, anxiety over ignorance, gate 24. If you have a 24 in your body graph, it's under great pressure to not be ignorant. And if you have a gate 61 pointing at it and no great gate 24, you have this mental pressure that's pointing at an anxiety that knows it doesn't necessarily know. So not knowing for either gate 61 or a 24 is a pain in the ass. And don't forget, the mind holds on to it over all of time. It keeps holding on to it. The anxiety over not knowing. And that's why it says anxiety over ignorance. I don't know. And then there's anxiety. I don't know. I don't know. And then the anxiety, suddenly the vortex turns against you. Don't forget the binary of it all. It can be this or not. So that vortex is ripping around, and it is the awareness that's helping to drive the love of humanity in a direction or not, or it works against us, and we'll call it a dark black hole of a vortex. You know what I mean? And it's sucking the life out of us as a vortex. Hey, that was nice. Vortex was charging me up. Oh shit, someone changed the polarity of that vortex and it started moving in the opposite direction, and now it's sucking the life out of me. And I can't make a decision to save my life because I'm stuck in a frequency that's over all of time. That's not right now. Over all of time is not right now. Really, it's only the spleen that's right now, but the spleen gives us so much. So
yeah.
Anxiety over chaos, gate 4, because it wants to come up with a formula. Mental anxiety over darkness, that gate 11, because it's the gate of ideas. It's called peace.
I have a circle around gate 11.
Yeah, you have that channel of curiosity. You have the whole channel in your
And 43.
Right. So when 43 is a killer. It's the fear of rejection. It's a deep fear over rejection. So suddenly the mental anxiety in your body says, don't say it. You'll get rejected. Don't offer. You'll be rejected. You're rejected.
Oh my God, that's one of the biggest things I've had to work in my business, work on myself with my business.
Literally. And that fear of darkness for 11, that's a deep darkness. That's the darkness that your ideas aren't worth anything, that you don't even have ideas. Imagine the darkness of a human life that has no ideas. It feels like a frontal lobotomy, got no ideas.
Anna just asked that question. What does it mean by the fear of darkness? She said as an evil, but I don't.
Nope, it's not about evil. Again, we use these keynotes because all this stuff is practical things. So there's not a lot of mystical stuff in here, but we can use it mystically to explain our mystical way through this world. That's true. I mean, there is a mystical way that we have through this world, because someone please explain to me how 14 billion years ago we came from something this small, and now we expanded to all of this, and you and I are here on, what is the StreamYard talking. I say that's a rather mystical thing. Someone please go ahead and prove to me that they know what's the scoop with all of that. Yeah, it's not going to happen. That's going to remain a mystery for a while longer in certain ways. So the darkness, Savannah, is the darkness that the ideas suck. There are no ideas. I can't think of any new ideas. Nobody likes my ideas. I don't like my ideas. It's just darkness. It's all going dark, everybody. Goodbye, cruel world. I'm going dark now. It's the
So,
rock.
would people with this defined have issues with depression and stuff?
All of these fears can drive the
Depre-
depressiveness inside of our individuality.
And is the Savannah asked, so is the anja is more loud and powerful than the spleen?
Way more, because it's so loud. It's got all that racket of concepts, that knowing, those concepts, these ideas, this pressure to rationalize, to come up with stuff, to think your way through it. Think. Sometimes you have to think your way through a thing. That's true, but it's still your spleen, Savannah, that's guiding that. The mind will come up with 10,000 thoughts, and the spleen will will take one and say, this is good for you. Go left, run faster, put on the brakes. But 1,000 ideas may have gone through, but the spleen was like, oh, no, like next, yes. That's what the spleen's doing, immediate, in the moment, in our right now. So, and anxiety over challenge. Oh, gate 17. If you have a gate 17 in your body graph, especially in an open center, and it's not going anywhere, you're always afraid that your opinions are being challenged. Your knowing is going to get challenged. You had a great pattern. You had something, it was cool. You couldn't spit it out, and you don't want to spit it out because you're afraid of being challenged by the other, or by your own self, or by the world, the natural world around you challenged you and said, no, that opinion didn't work. It's my opinion that if I do this one thing, everything will fall in place for me. And suddenly a deep fear will come in. That's not, I'm afraid that the world will challenge this opinion of mine, this logical thing I just came up with, and it's not even going to work. So what do? You don't even try it. Now what happens? You're out of the right now. And all the individual gates in your body graph say, hey, I am right now. I'm your sharpest tool in the shed. You took me out of now. I think I'll go ahead and get depressed with a bunch of melancholy, because you're taking me out of my now. My only defense is to give back the chemistry of melancholy so that you stop and shut the flock up and sit still and be sad, so that the sadness, the chemistry of the sadness, can now re-empower the love and direction of humanity that wants to move its love in a direction. That means not humanity only. That means the tribe. That means the individual. That means the person themselves. And so here comes the sadness, and the sadness says, no, I'm a little more powerful than your anxiety. I'm just sad. So you have to go into that melancholy and use it for the powerful sledgehammer that it is. Melancholy will wipe away like no one's business, all the dirt, all the scum. It'll clean it up, because the sadness says sooner or later, enough sadness and nothing else matters. And from that, you can be rebirthed anew. Does that make sense?
It does. It
And all stemming from an awareness.
well, exactly. I was just going to say that.
So let's look
It's
at
having the awareness.
Yes.
But that's what's happening, and not feeding into the emotion or what's coming up. It's really taking a step out, being in the moment, and being the observer.
Yes. And witnessing when you're not in the moment. It doesn't mean you're a failure because you're not in the moment. It means if you're watching this broadcast, you can now become aware that, oh, I'm not in the moment. Now you're in the experiment. Now mind is your friend, because it's your mind that actually recognized, oh, I'm not in the moment. It had words for it. It had these concepts from this broadcast that we're doing here in the series, and it started to come up with measuring this and that. You're right, I wasn't in the moment. I took myself out of the moment 5 minutes ago. Minds can start chattering. Let that clacky, loud, clunky old jalopy clatter away with all of its sounds and its claptrap. Let it make all that noise. You're never going to be certain of it, because you have to still experience it. But you've got the concepts, and suddenly certainty comes because you've experienced it. Knowing helps, because we need to know, right? So the concepts and the awareness, experiencing that awareness locks it in, cements it, turns it into rock hard, rebar reinforced concrete, with lead. So not even a nuclear blast is getting through, and lots of gold. So it's pretty inside. So you can, live for a little while.
I got a couple questions from Savannah real quick.
Sure.
she said, this isn't the emotional center, or is it the emotional center even louder and powerful than the aja to get your attention with the fears?
Good projector. Thank you, Savannah. She's moving us along, is what she's doing, whether she knows it or not. And that spleen of hers is telling her to do so. Thank you. So we move to the solar plex. And yes, whopping yes. Each one got louder along the way. So recap these frequencies. Spleen, the frequency is now, new now, 2 minutes from now, different now. You know, they change moment to moment to moment.
Exactly.
That's the frequency. The frequency of mind is overall of time. Hey, you gave it to me 10 years ago and I still got it. I still got it and it's still going on over all of time. And now the solar plex, the frequency of this solar plex awareness is neither super right now or over all of time. It can turn out to be over all of time, but it's in a wave. It's in a wave that has to have a differential between a top and a bottom. If anyone knows anything about chemistry, like how a battery works, a battery has a differential. It's got a higher and a lower. And as it releases its charge, that differential starts to be less and less and less until there's no more differential and the battery's dead. That's how the solar plex works. If someone can come up with another example that's less dude-like, then that would be great.
Dude-like.
You know, I got my limitations. What am I going to do?
Oh, you got me on the spot, Dan. I really...
Well, no, I'll just carry on. It's the cyclical wave. It's cyclical. So immediate comes and then it's gone. Over all of time, cyclical. The emotional solar plex is cyclical. And if you think of a cycle like a sine wave, right? For when someone shows a sine wave, it goes up and down and up and down.
Yeah.
That's what the emotions do. They build up the awareness in the difference between up and down. It had to go up. When it's up, it's aware that this is great. This is great. I love it. I'm jumping out of a plane. I'm on a great hike. I can smell the roses, all of the stuff that feels so good. It's emotionally juicy, and that awareness gives us the depth and the meaning of why it's so good. The dog can smell the roses, but they can't sit and articulate, I smell the roses. They might pee on it to mark their spot because they smelled it and they liked it. But that, again, that's not the same thing as this up and down emotional wave between the two. And then it starts to go back down into its sadness, a little bit of sadness, a lot of sadness, or just a disorganization of the up. You know, the down part of an emotional wave is really just the disorganizing of the up. You can't stay up all the time. We all know happiness is not something you get to live in. It's something you get to experience. Oh, they're happy all the time. Oh, bullshit, they are. You know, I call bullshit. Nobody's happy all the time. We wouldn't want to be blissed out. Why bother? What would be the purpose if we were only blissed out and happy at all times? It's not baked into the cake here.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take the old example of the Garden of Eden, where they had nothing for which to even concern themselves with, one might say they were happy all the time. But even in that archetype of an example in Eden, something says they weren't really happy at all times, or something, because someone did something and a serpent came along and made someone eat an apple, and suddenly they got kicked out of Eden. So someone wasn't happy enough. If they were truly just blissed out, they'd have been like, no, thanks. God said, don't eat it. God said, I don't like it. And, you know, 20 serpents could have come along with 40 apples, and they wouldn't have taken a bite from any of them, if I'm quoting that right. So to the solar plex, over all of time, these fears, nervousness. So spleen's fear, immediate in the moment, sharp's fear, boom, duck, hide, run, holy shit, I'm going to die, or not. Mental fears, anxiety, oh my God, anxiety, my heart rate's not right. I'm mentally, I can't think straight, and mental anxiety. Emotional nervousness in your gut, a nervousness that I won't know, it'll never be good enough. I want this emotional high back. If you think of an emotional high, it's like the dopamine. It's like that thing that happens when what our awful collective that's trying to crush down on us gave us through McDonald's: fat, sugar, salt, gluten, sugar, salt, fat. When you taste that sugar, salt, fat thing, it's so addictive. You just want it. Next thing you know, it's a mental high when you take your first bite, and it's a emotional low as soon as you've taken too many bites. Now you feel like crap, right?
Mhm.
So I admit the first bite of the right McDonald's cheeseburger with the right temperature fries and the right sip of Coca-Cola, it's good. The second and third bites, not so good. By the time I'm done with a cheeseburger, which has been a while, but I still, when it happens, by the time it's done, it's like, that sucked. Because right?
McDonald's is not good for you.
No, but it's a great archetype of an example because everybody
Yes.
knows it,
Yes.
They spray extra gluten on those buns to go and addict our high. They want us to feel high because it's good.
Absolutely they do. Absolutely they do.
That's this emotional high, and it's and gate 30, the emotional nervousness in the solar plexus. It's about fate. The fates aren't going to treat me well. I won't be able to hang on to this feeling. I want this feeling. I'm hungry for this feeling. 55, where we are mutating as a species. The human species is mutating through this gate 55 right now. It's the source of our upheaval on this planet. It's the source of most of the anxiety when you really want to add it all up en masse. It's the emotional nervousness and the fear of emptiness. My cup is not full. How do you address that? If you're a child and you're that parent's child, how do you address, oh, honey, your cup's not full. Oh, well, I'll buy you something. That's not going to work. Communion will work. Allowing that emotional melancholic wave to go through in its emotional wave. That kid has to go up and then down, and that child has to feel this emptiness and not let them feel the fear of that emptiness. They can just start to recognize through the parents telling them, oh, honey, no, it's a nervousness, but it's your body getting smarter. It's going to give you this beautiful thing on the other side, so you have to wait it out. Would you like me to read you a story or leave you alone? Is there something I can do for you? These are sort of just questions. If they're a generator, those are yes/no questions. Get out. Kid says, get out. Okay, I'm getting out. Holler if you need anything. And parents can come up with all kinds of little things. Hey, we have a text code. I know you're only upstairs, but if you text me, 82, it means I'm going to go do this for you. Whatever, make up fun things. Suddenly that kid's spirit will start to fill back up. It always fills up. The cup always fills. Our chemistry doesn't allow it to stay empty. The frequency of the mind's fears over all of time, they allow it to be drowned out and forced to think it's empty. But the true chemistry of individuality, which is in a pulse in our now, moment by moment by moment, starts to fill the cup back up. Look at these moments like drops. Drip, drop, drip, drop. If you have a leaky faucet and you put a cup under it, you don't need to be gone for 2 weeks for that thing to fill up. It fills up in 32 minutes, an hour or 15, depending on how fast that drip is.
Yeah, exactly how big the drip is.
It's all about my cup is empty. My cup is full. And that is the spirit of humanity. Jen, who gets to answer their own question over whether their cup is full?
The individual.
That's it. Who else? Can someone else answer it for them?
No one can ever answer that question. And if they don't answer it themselves, they will forever be seeking, and they will always be empty.
Yes, and they will always have this emptiness or this nervousness in their moments of fullness that they're just going to be empty again. That's
correct. So oh my gosh, they brought an awareness, because it's like a self-sabotaging behavior, because they are afraid to even be full in the first place, because they are forever seeking that emptiness, but they don't know where to get that. They don't know that filling that emptiness comes from within.
Comes from within, and it happens
That
naturally.
made sense.
Yes, it happens naturally through the process of allowing. When do we allow, Jen? Right now, maybe? Because I can't allow in the future. And the past already happened. And this mind of ours that was the seven-centered way for 100,000 plus years, mind ruled the plane. We haven't gotten used to getting out of the mind yet. And yet here we are letting mind hold on to the concept over all of time that if you unfortunately adopted the concept that I'm just going to go down again, then your cup will never feel full for very long. You'll always be afraid it's going to go back down. And now comes along a beautiful talk doctor in a white hat doing a bunch of black work. I mean, the talk doctor and or the psychotherapist and the hospital and the med people, what all those folks, they may mean well. They're wearing a white hat. They even will put love into that person, but they can't fill their flipping cup for them. And I don't care what Rorschach ink blot you look at, or whether you're Noonian, or whether you're Freudian, or whether you've done that Procter and Gamble test. I used the wrong words. What is that test? The Myers and Briggs, I think it is. All these things, they get close. They have nibbits of stuff, but it's just, for example, a mother's awareness that my kid just needs to be left alone for a little while. Now the mother can have a deeper awareness. Oh, she's going through a chemical wave, and it's actually the correct wave for her. I'm going to create a lot of space, and I'm going to get her a little surprise. I know she loves X. I'm going to run out and get that for her. So when she comes out of her room, it'll be there for her. The mother's love or the father's love that wants to empower the direction for their child in a tribal way and support them will do all the right stuff. That's our purpose here. Our love empowering a direction, and where love is a chemistry that is a force. Everyone has always wondered, is love a force on this plane? Hell yeah, it is. Big, fat, powerful force. And the collective is trying to smash it. You know, let me come up with my, QR code for you. Let me share my draconian vision of the future for you. Well, screw you. You don't even know what the future holds. You couldn't predict it if your life depended on it. All you can predict is the chaos of formulas that aren't patterns that are good for humanity that you're stupidly going to hold on to for all of time. Remember how powerful that collective is in those streams of awareness in that head center. There is no tribe. There's just the individual battling it out with the collective. So it holds on to it over all of time, and the parents think my kid has a problem because their spirit won't fill up. If your child has this gate or this channel, if they start doing erratic things, they're trying to fill their cup up. I once met a girl who wouldn't stop hitting her head against the wall. I've met, this is where the eating problems are, the emotional problems are all here in the solar plex, born in this gate 55 more than anything, because the spirit of humanity is flipping, waking up. Guys, wake up. And someone try to dispute for me, and I don't care who you are, the greatest scientific minds, you try and tell me, how is it that the spirit of the individuals that make up humanity is not, in fact, waking up? It's on the move.
Yes.
There's something happening. And even if your greatest scientific method went to work with just the hypothesis, there's something happening. Okay, start with that hypothesis. You will find it in this gate. You will find it in the stream. You will find it in this emotional solar plex, and you will find where we keep getting taken away because we had a fear that we're always going to get empty again. Or we have another fear. Gate 49 is this nervousness about nature. The nature of things is going to come along and hurt me. It won't listen. I'm fighting nature. I don't want to fight nature. And that's a big fear. Gate 6, I have a gate 6. I've known this my whole life. It's called friction. Gate 6 is the emotional awareness to know whether or not you are or are not open to intimacy. And it's all the intimacies, but primarily the one that makes children, because that's our job on this plane is to make babies and then protect them. So
is that like being nervous in the act of intimacy, or just being intimate with a person, like just being open?
Yes. Yes, the nervousness about being open, and then suddenly mind had a concept that might make you look like you could be rejected. So your nervousness works with the anxiety in the mind, and suddenly you're afraid of being rejected, so you're not so open. These keynotes stack up. These keynotes and these fears stack up to control our lives for hours and days and weeks and years, rather than just the moment, the sharp tool of the moment.
Recognizing that these fears are coming up, and it really is just a chemistry in your body, and you are not your fears. False expectations appearing real.
Yes.
Face everything and rise, or fuck everything and run.
False expectations appearing real. That is that. If I could sum up the solar plex in a way, that would be one of the ways.
That is fear. Savannah has a question about gate number 49, the fear of nature. Does that also include natural disasters?
No,
Like,
has nothing to do with the actual natural disaster of it all. It's your own supportive way inside the tribe that whatever it is you're supporting isn't going to be in alignment with the nature of what you're around. So I guess it could be fear of natural disaster. Yeah, you know what? I'll change my tune. I guess it could be fear of natural disasters in a way. It would be a healthy fear. But since it's in the emotional solar plex and its frequency is a wave over time, that brings clarity. So you can't know. The solar plex has no truth in the now. The spleen has truth in the now. Solar plex, no truth in the now. You need clarity over time. Mind, no truth, period. Just fears that you can become aware of that you have an inner authority and a strategy to deal with. But there's no truth in the mind. None. There's truth in the bottom two awarenesses. One takes time. So, Savannah, it's the fear that your nature within the nature around you won't work.
Interesting. Yeah,
You're
she
not
said that
fear of the wrong principles for your environment.
she has gates 43 and 49. They're both hanging in her chart. So she was asking as that pertains to rejection and
Absolutely. Let me keynote them for you. If you have those two gates, just how they would stack up in order to clusterfuck your life. Excuse my language.
it's okay. We do not approve that we are children of friendly on this.
Right. Well, we might have to get children friendly one day, Jen.
I know we will.
Hope we
We'll
do.
we'll make a separate show on that one, Dan.
Yeah. So mental anxiety over the fear of rejection. And don't forget, it's an individual gate, so it's also the melancholy that your concepts can't get out, that you can't have a breakthrough, that what you're thinking just you can't spit it out. The sadness that you can't spit it out, along with the fear that it'll be rejected if you do spit it out, suddenly starts to interrupt the emotional awareness that you have that you are the right nature in wherever you are. Am I the right, is my being the right nature and with the right principles for where I am at? It's a healthy fear to have, because if you're not in the right place, this will help you know. If you're not with the right tribe, this will help you know.
The solar plexus?
That yes, the nature and in a wave. So over time, highs and lows, a couple months goes by, suddenly the being can have these fears. They'll show up in a moment, show up in a moment, but in the awareness over time will come this clarity. Again, you don't need to have the solar plex defined to recognize that the fear shows up. The fear can show up intermittently. It'll show up now and again, and you allow it. And suddenly, this tribe does not have the right principles for me. I'm going to leave. This tribe does have the right principles for me, and I have the right principles for it. I don't fear the nature of this tribe anymore. I will throw my tribal support emotionally and support you. And that's an emotional business that comes to clarity. And it's juicy. It eats the food. It prepares the table. It helps the marriage bond get made. It helps make the babies. All tribal stuff is about making and preserving babies. I mean, that's one of their primary functions, the primary function.
Yeah, well, if we take away if we look at humans just like animals and the thought process and all that other stuff, we that's what we are here to do, is to reproduce and make a bigger tribe.
Yep, period. And then that tribe starts to get a big fat head, and that tribe
It's where we let all these fears get in the way of all that crap.
Right. So
and not being in the moment.
Right. That sharpest tool in the shed is yes.
I love how you came up with this name, because it is so true now that we're going through this show, how I see it.
Oh, I had lots of anxiety before the show. It was great. I kept saying, "Oh, Dan, you got anxiety. What is it?" What pictures am I? What are the charts? How's it? It would show up and then it would leave. It would show up and it would leave, and then right.
When we
I
were
have that.
talking about, I said, "Hill, I'll tell on myself. Like I've been feeling it, and I know on a collective standpoint what's going on, and we'll go over the just now chart here in just a moment, but." I know that there's a lot of fears coming up and a lot of anxiety. And so that it's wonderful that you're going over this topic today so that people can understand that it's happening to everybody. And it's being awareness of these gates and what is going on, that you are not your fears. It is false expectations appearing real, and they're coming up for a specific reason for you to work on, not emotionally react on these fears, because it's a chemistry that's happening in your body.
Period.
Bringing awareness to it kills it.
Right.
Savannah said it in one of her comments that I haven't been able to get to it. It's normal to have the highs and lows in your mood. This is normal. Ride the wave. Don't get on the emotional roller coaster and go down wherever it's going to freaking take you, because a lot of people are going to feed into that. It's having that
Period.
awareness
You
of
bring
it.
you bring others with you. If it's tribal, you've supported the other to help be that way. If it's collective, you're sharing it and dragging the other one with you.
Well, I'm bringing the awareness to it that, because of someone's fear and emotional waves that they're going through, it's the projection. And then I come in and I'm like, is this my fear? No, this is not my fear. Why am I letting it affect me
Right.
emotionally? So, then I go and I look at my chart, okay, well, this makes sense. And so it's bringing what I'm working on, especially collectively, is bringing that awareness to it in that moment so that it squashes it.
Yep. Period. And allows it to get tucked away where it needs to be. A momentary
Yes.
phenomenon. Don't give reasons. Don't give anything to your chemistry. It's just a chemistry. It's just a chemistry. The 13-year-old boy has a growth spurt. His voice changes for a month there, and then it gets clumsy because he grew an inch too fast. I had that. Not my fault. It's just a chemistry. It has nothing to do with who I am, who I will be, where I'm at. Nothing. And there's no reasons for this. It's there to drive awareness. Fear is the root of intelligence. Our intelligence, emotional, splenic, and mental intelligence drive our awareness. We're little bio boxes advancing and marshaling forward the awareness of becoming more aware. That's what we're here for. We're not here to just eat, have sex, make more, and die. Spiders can do that. Let garden snakes do that. When their fertility is over, their life is over, or whatever animals have that as part of their nature.
Yep.
That's not us. That's not us. When our fertility is over is when we get our greatest swing, potentially. We marshal forward into life, advancing this awareness. We're constantly advancing awareness and consciousness. And so 2 more of these things in the emotional, so that gate 6, that friction, they're to create a friction that says only the right intimacy will get let in, because I'm providing a friction. The friction might stop certain intimacies from coming in, and that would be good. That would be correct for that being. You can't let every intimacy in. And it's this nervousness about intimacy, the fear of intimacy. I don't know. No. Oh, no. One night stand, and suddenly you're starting to wonder, should I, oh my God, what do I do next? Do I call this person? I'm afraid of the intimacy. This is a big one on this planet. It shows up all the time. And so when the guy or the gal doesn't text you the next day, and we think we've made up a mental rule over all of time that it's protocol, you're supposed to text the next person within at least a day if you've had sex with them the night before, right?
They've got fucking articles about all that shit on Cosmopolitan and
yes. And if it's more than 48 hours, there's a problem. And if it's less than 48 hours, he or she likes you. And
a fashion magazine can write a whole freaking article on this.
Yes, and they've written millions of articles. What to know about your man? What to know about your wife?
Yes.
Well,
all comes from this gate.
Yeah, welcome to a concept that's frequency is over all of time. You can't apply that flipping concept.
I
to
wonder
this.
how many people have this.
Oh, it's well,
I have it.
200 million. I have it.
It's defined.
Yeah. Yep, it's in a defined me. It's in an open center. So my fear of intimacy shows up in a moment. I don't even know. I'm not even thinking about it. And suddenly it'll come and I'll be like, well, maybe not. What, you want to kiss me? Well, on the cheek, please. How about a hug? You know, in that moment. And then suddenly I'll feel maybe an attraction. I'll be like, and I'll suddenly feel the fear of like, is this right? That's a correct fear. It's driving my emotional intelligence. These fears drive the emotional intelligence. Ajna fears drive mental intelligence. Splenic fears drive survival intelligence. The vortex, survive, think, emotional aware. Survive, think, emotionally aware. Vortex. What's the vortex doing? It's empowering the love to move in a direction. This body graph is really a thing of beauty. It is a diagnostic tool. And if you have a kid with a problem, let's get them off the meds and out of the talk doctor office for a little bit so you can see the difference. The talk
Definitely
doctor,
sign up and get a session with Dan on your
the
kid.
talk doctor's not bad. They're one of us. We are them. It's just the discipline is all mind. And you have to, and they're stuck feeling their way through in their not knowing. So one more in here. Gate 22 is a good one. Emotional nervousness about silence. There's nothing worth hearing. I can't tell. There's too much, silence. And that gate's just there to have the grace to listen. And it's listening. And when it hears silence and what it's listening, suddenly a nervousness can come in. There's too much silence. Fear of silence. Emotional silence. Not just silence like it's quiet. Sometimes quiet's great. Emotional silence. We are communal nine-centered beings. We're here to commune. And in our communion with the other, there's too much silence. I'm getting nervous about that. I don't know what that means. It's driving an emotional wave. I better go up and down a little bit in my chemistry so I can get smart.
I have that.
So that's what it's doing. So look at your own body graph and see these fears and call in and ask the questions. Don't stop calling, guys. We will attract more readers, so I don't have to be the only reader. And I
Yes,
would love,
absolutely.
is there any way we can start a counter on one of our sites where because I still assume there's only 1,000 or 2,000 at most of us that actually can read competently, with just read, that have done it over and over and over like an instrument. I would love to be wrong. I hope there's 50,000 of us. In my fear, I'm afraid there's only 200 or 300 of us or 500,
We can definitely look into that about doing some type of counter or co-collaboration thing. I mean, that is in alignment with a lot of,
I'd love to hear people's comments. It's like, I would love, a million people chime in. It's like, wait a minute, I know this guy in Asia. You listen to my ignorance in Asia. And over there, he's a reader. This guy's a reader. That gal's a reader. This whole group, they read really well. I hope there's thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of us. We need an army of a couple million, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be diving more into this when we get off the phone because I feel like this is what. Oh, it's 222 on the timer. Okay,
You did that last time. 555.
Did we? Okay. It's 222 here in Houston. But fears right now, this is what's going to be coming up to play for a lot of people. So bringing awareness to all of this is
it's
important.
why now is the sharpest tool in the shed.
It is the sharpest. This is the tool to have. This is putting on the armor of God right now.
Literally. And what was the name? I forgot what we call this. It's right now. What was the name of this?
It is the in the moment and along the way, recognizing the right now of it all. It is the sharpest tool in the shed.
In the moment and along the way. Go to the slide with the melancholies.
Okay.
It's just a list of melancholies. There's no body graph on there. There it is. So these are all the individual gates in the body graph. There's like 26 of them or something. I forgot. It's the most abundant one in the body graph. I don't need to go through these. It's too extensive of a list. But look at that gate 22. It's practically right in the center. And the melancholy is that there's nothing worth listening to. So it has a fear of silence. And in the silence, it recognizes its sadness that there's nothing worth listening to. And now it can have its emotional wave and come to clarity and say, you know what? There was nothing worth listening to. That guy or that girl they weren't right for me. Or there's totally something worth listening to. I just didn't hear it. But my clarity brought me to it. So we have these melancholies. Find them in your body graph. They're numbered. If you have a gate 57, you have a melancholy that there's, nothing worth hearing. The melancholy through hearing that basically tomorrow has nothing good in store. What I hear and what I feel and what I'm intuitively aware of just doesn't bring any joy to my tomorrow. Tomorrow looks bleak. That's the melancholy of 57. The melancholy of 51, the warrior, is the melancholy that there's nothing new under the sun. Now that thing's supposed to initiate life and initiate us to leap into the void and do all this individual great stuff. And if it's sad because there's nothing new under the sun, sooner or later that melancholy goes away and that warrior gets up and leaps. Because guess what? There's plenty new under the sun. Gate 25, the melancholy over just insignificance. I'm insignificant. What, you don't need me. If I were gone, the world won't miss me.
Mm-hmm.
How many kids have thought that, said that out loud?
A lot.
Well,
Too many.
Yeah, there's only 64 gates, and 64 goes into 7.8 billion. How many? 100, 200 million times, 100 million times. So yeah, about a little over 100 million people have a gate 25. They think they're insignificant. They are mixed in amongst all of us in humanity. They're giving it to the rest of us in communion with them. So it's not their fault. So find your gates of melancholy in here and look at them and realize how profound they are. Gate 8. I have a gate 8. I want to make a contribution. And it's basically the melancholy about no one's paying attention to them. So they can't even make their contribution. They're not unique enough to warrant the attention of the other. And now I'm sad. I'm not unique enough. And I have a gate 43, so I have the melancholy that I can't even break through. And I have a gate 43, and I'm a fear of rejection. And you start adding these things up, and I can come up with a clusterfuck inside the mind. The mind is the enemy because its frequency is over all of time. So
that is where
over all of time. Wave
you are not your mind.
Yes, wave is great. Let that wave go up and down. Spleen, great. Right in the moment. Bam, 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 bam. That never stays. It's only once. It's great. So the last slide, not Angela Jolie, but just the not self-centers. And so recognize the individual knowing circuitry in a pulse only knows in the moment, lives in the moment, and it lives in every center. So all of these not self themes are so pronounced on our planet. We went over them. I don't need to go over them. We went over them before. The not self and who we are not. Open head center, you're not here to be occupied with a bunch of crap. You're here to witness that there is a bunch of crap. Open root center, you're not here to be under pressure, to be in a hurry, to get rid of the pressure. You're not even the pressure. In fact, it's not your pressure. None of it. Jen, it's not our pressure, Jen. And
me and Dan talk about this all the time.
Yes,
and we have it open, and he'll send me something, and I'll get in like the pressure, and I'm like, it's not my pressure, Dan.
Right. So we get to say that to each other, and we even get to go through the not self of our own self, maybe even getting pissed for a moment. It's like, but wait a minute, I want the fucking thing right now. Can't have it. And then we can laugh at it. I can call you up later and be like, Jen, I was mad for a second. And you can laugh at me and be like, well, how'd that go? And I'll be like, yeah, it left.
But see, that's the important that we talk about these type of things, because we go through it and we're aware of it. But then when we bring the awareness to it, we kill it and we can move on.
Seeing it kills it. And Jen, just to sort of wrap up the show, I guess, in a way, seeing it kills it. When does seeing it kill it?
In the moment.
Right now.
In the moment. Right now.
Sharpest tool in the shed, baby.
It is the sharpest. Man, I love how you came up with the title and it just tied in to the whole thing. And before we do close up on this, I do want to show, because it is important that we go over
There it is.
exactly what is happening right now in the moment collectively, so it can bring the awareness to you guys, because this is something that I know that's on my radar, and what I do, it's going to increase, especially within the collective.
Right now, we're going over, we just left the cross of tension, this tension to basically get stuff done. And gate 21 is the gate of controlling things. It's the hunter and the huntress. And gate 48, I'm looking at the sun earth on the right hand personality side, because that's what matters. It's the black lines that matter, because that's what's transiting us right now. As a planet transits any of these gates, all of these gates, it is coloring the whole planet with that. So not only is a child being born now have this imprinting, the human beings that have their imprinting from when they were born are experiencing these transits as well. So you might as well consider that you have a gate 21 in you. In fact, Jen, you have a gate 45, so you now have the whole channel of materialism, the whole channel of like the king and the queen of the tribe. Savannah, you too. You have a gate 45, as I recall. So you guys have both been experiencing for the last 4 days or so gate 21, connecting up that whole channel.
Can you kind of explain what would that feel like?
I have and I don't have. It's the knowing of the have or don't have. It's the confident, the ego willpower of having. Because that's what the ego does. I have control of the tribe. I have the resources for the tribe. And in a more mundane, personal way, I have a good mood today. I have a sunny day. I have enough food for everyone. I have or I don't have. It's a vital voice to help keep a tribal unit supported. If this channel is disorganized, the tribe doesn't stay together very well. The tribe works intermittently. When this channel is there, it's a powerful Wa channel. It's a powerful organizing principle that allows the hierarchy in a tribe to be tribal. And as nine-centered beings, that tribalness is about the tribalness of communion, not simple cooperation. Again, communion is an order of magnitude above cooperation. Communion is down here, and 50 miles up here is, cooperation, and 1 billion miles up here is communion. It's a quantum leap forward in how we're supposed to get along. We're supposed to commune. Mm-hmm. It's just, you put those words, cooperation, commune, in your psyche, because you can hang on to that over all the time if you want, because cooperation is cool, but communion rules. And so we came off of tension, all this tension. And then suddenly in came this sort of need to basically start new things. This attention to get something new going. It's attention to get something new going and to share that. We're starting to become driven to see what we're going to care for, and how the hell are we going to universalize how we explain all of that. We're all in the universalizing business right now. I'm looking at the nodes, 2343. We're right now, all of humanity is in the universalizing business of universalizing what they know, the knower, the genius to the freak. Right now, some people are turning into freaks and some people are turning into geniuses. If you can't,
that is a fact.
If you can explain it, you're a freaking genius. That's all this channel says. It says, I'd like to make a nice structured order. It's a channel of structuring, and it's in our nodes. Humanity is a talkative species right now, and for the next month and change, we are going to keep talking. I know. Everyone thinks they know.
And the more that I realize or go on this journey, especially to enlightenment, the more I think I know, I don't know shit.
You don't know jack shit.
I don't know a fucking thing.
Right. But you know a couple things for yourself. And
exactly. That's the only thing I know. And going back to this control, what I have been realizing, and because I am so in the moment, I love being in the moment, I have realized that I don't have control with what's going on the outside of me. The only thing I have control is me, and that pushes me even more into the moment, which is the sharpest tool in the shed.
Sharpest tool in the shed, baby. So that's what we're looking at. There's lots of things here. We're currently communicating our need to control. That gate 21 is everyone's communicating their need to control others and things. They can't have it. Guess what you get to control? Not much. So get over it. But there's going to be a lot of tension around what they can't control. So look for shit tons of tension today and tomorrow, and look for everyone to have the energy that says, I know. It doesn't mean they're right. It's just an energy. It's a frequency. It's just a frequency that has the energy of I know. It doesn't make them pompous, and it doesn't make them right. And if you're aware of that, you can sit there and say, yeah, no, this is like that. However, I might not be right. That's what an aware person would do. It's just my energy that says I know. Doesn't mean I'm right.
Yes, I love it.
Yes, if you're certain you're right, you can say, I'm wicked certain I'm right.
In the moment.
In the moment. So it doesn't guarantee.
Because you are.
Yeah, it doesn't guarantee correctness. It just is, maybe it's more likely than not. Who knows? But that's what's happening. We're all talking out, I know. Look at our immaturity is in where we're doing our principles. Our law, gate 22, 6, this grace to transition and see out over the entire individual circuitry and hear it all is now the law. It's in gate 22. I'm looking at Jupiter. Yes, Jupiter, 22, line 6. So Jupiter moves rather slow. It'll be here for a little while longer, maybe a week or days. I don't know how long. But for right now, 22.6 is literally saying we have the grace to listen. So look, we got the controller up top that's got the grace to listen. This can seem like a conflict in the not self world. How's it playing out? Just watch the news. You'll see whatever the talking heads do on all the legacy media channels. That's sort of a great indicator because they are so who they are not. None of those guys are who they really are. You know, if I got any one of them and got them into a reading, I would find they either struggled to remain a not self being throughout my reading. But if they couldn't withstand me, which most people can't when I read for them, because I break the flock through, I don't care. And those people would start to admit, I don't like it. I don't like being an anchor. I bet I could even make Anderson Cooper cry, little fucking baby. Yep, absolutely. And those two obnoxious married people that are like, I know so much. It's so awful. Joe Rogan was so bad. That married couple that are on there, those View ladies. Oh, those poor ladies on it. Poor Whoopi. I don't know that I could break through to Whoopi. She's a tough cookie, but I bet I could break through to a couple of the other ones.
We're up for the challenge.
She would have to be open. If Whoopi were open, I would break through. But my love would go to Whoopi in the moment I was breaking through. I'm on the cross of the vessel of love. I have no choice.
I love that. And if you guys want to do that, definitely, all the links down below to get arranged with having a session. Have Danny break through. He's phenomenal.
Joe Rogan would get so much out of this.
Yes, he would. We want to get those type of people on the show.
Oh, God. Joe would be like, and he could file it all. Joe Rogan would be like
start hitting up that podcast, Dan.
Yeah, be a one-hit read, I think, with Joe, and just so he could file it all. And he would then, his uniqueness would come back when he was in the mood. Mm-hmm. Yep. Individuality must be in the mood. Last one on this one, I'm going to do truth. Pluto. Pluto represents the truth of it all. Well, guess what 60 is doing? 60 is pounding the truth of limitation upon us. We are limited. And gate 60.3 is basically saying, I'm going to bump into it every which way I can until I transcend the limitation. And it doesn't know until it is aware that the transcendence is the acceptance of the limitation, not necessarily the smashing of it. It's the acceptance of it. We are in the truthful process of being truly accepting of the limitations we have. So I hope the collective is hearing this, because you have a limitation. You can't control the tribe and you cannot control the individual. All you can do is squish them to where they want to revolt more and more and more. And you need to build bigger and bigger and bigger and deeper bunkers to stop the angrier and angrier and angrier individual mob from, finally crashing in on you. Don't let it get to that, because the individual will forgive you, the collective, in a New York minute. We're communing. Forgiveness is in our nature. If you simply stop crushing us tomorrow, we'll forgive you fucking tomorrow. You big fat fucking bunch of dummies. Wake the fuck up. Stop trying to control it all. Money, you don't care about money. You don't care. I want to make a point about this United States of America. We've lived free for so long as it relates to our own impression. Free to say what I'm free. You can't tell me what to say, right? That's an American. I mean, that's a uniquely American thing that's so robust. We're obnoxious with it. I'll do whatever I want. It's a free country. How many people say it's a free country? Well, that's embedded in our genome now as individuals. And they're trying to unravel that. Okay, so as individuals, that's embedded in our genome. I'll make a supposition for you. I'll put forth a theory that I'll take to the bank. If everything crashed down tomorrow, they burn down the money system, they burn down the finances, everything's bad. They try to get a QR code on everyone's phone, universal basic income, stakeholder society, all the bullshit that they're trying to set up, jobs and all that stuff. If they try and they wreck it all, and all of a sudden tomorrow money is no good, we will go through chaos, upheaval. But in a second, if the country we call the United States of America was roughly awake or more, guess what could happen? Money could be, they don't want to see this, by the way, but money could be rendered moot tomorrow because the oil guys that are drilling oil in Texas might say, I'm a generator. I'm buzzing with energy. You know, yesterday I was on the oil rig. I sort of like it on the oil rig. I think I'll go keep drilling oil. And the CEO of the company be like, well, there's no more money, so I don't really control anything. But I notice the guys feel like drilling oil. I think I'll let it happen. Let's keep letting it happen. In fact, you know, I'll help. I'm going to roll up my sleeves. And all the people that were farming will be like, well, I was farming yesterday. I'll farm tomorrow. There's no money in it, but, you know, the tractors keep moving and the oil guys keep making gas for it. And now I will farm. And the government doesn't have any more money to pay me to not farm, which was stupid. You know, what the hell are they doing with that? And Monsanto can't make any more glyphosate because we don't like glyphosate. It sucks. We don't like Liberty Link. It's no good. It's poisoning us. It's creating all this stuff. And you see what I'm saying? The teachers would still teach. The students would still be students. The roads would still go. The cop would be like, well, the ammo guys would make ammo because their fellow brothers of the tribe that are the cops need bullets for their guns to keep, you know, the tribal safety, you know, and so everyone would go about their job. And after about a month of that, be like, why did we let money become an in-between for our energy? Our energy, which is our love, moving in a direction, has to get converted into money. So a lot of energy gets lost in that conversion into money. It's called working, not being happy, being dissatisfied, frustrated, angry.
Your energy is your currency.
All by itself. So why are we spending so much energy converting it into this green paper arbitrary thing only to reconvert it back out into something we bought for someone? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's we don't need it. We don't
Correct.
And the country would work just fine. I'm not naive enough to think we could do that necessarily, but I am hopeful enough and brave enough to lean right into that and say, could be. There's no rule that says it can't be. So fuck you, we're doing it. That would be my attitude. And I bet you a lot of people
We're getting there, Dan. Mine too.
Oops. Sorry. I mean, heck with that. No way. Anyway. We're done.
All right. Well, I love what you said. But it's important that you know, all the great topics that we hit on today, and I think it's imperative that a lot of people go back and rewatch this, because just like what Dan was saying, you know, there's a lot of changes that are coming up to the surface for a lot of people, and it's having the awareness, it's in the moment, having that awareness that is your sharpest tool in your toolbox right now. And they're going to play on all this fear that you have going on in the mind. And if you are not aware that you are not your fears, that you are, it is just a chemistry that is happening in your body, and you need to disconnect from it and allow it to go. Like he says, just have that energy flow. Just let it
drive
be.
The intelligence. The fear drives the intelligence rather than controls the life.
Correct.
Yeah.
Wonderful show today, Dan. Thank you.
Yeah, we did good, Jen. We did good. We're impacting them now.
We are impacting. With that said, guys, thank you for everybody who is tuning in. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow the show. Share this out. If you have not already had a complimentary session with Dan, please make sure to check the links down below. They are complimentary. The only thing that we are asking is that you do an exit interview with us. We want to have your feedback. How did it impact you? What are you going to use with the knowledge, and how can we go further with it and help you integrate? Like we said, we're going to be coming out with more shows, and me and Dan are on a mission to do some very big things. So sign up to the newsletter list. You'll be included in everything that goes out.
Yeah.
And
It's a fair energy exchange. I'll
it
read
is a it
for an
is a
hour or
fair.
two. I'll stay in it. I will love you. I will stay in it and open you up. And we just want your reaction after.
That's it. It's absolutely, it is complimentary. It's an honest energy exchange. And going back to what we were saying with the money and everything like that, we are taking the money out of it. We are starting actually that process of saying, fuck you to the green paper, whatever monopoly money they have out there, and giving that honest energy exchange. So because he's giving his energy, we just want your energy on how it impacted you and what you're going to be doing with the knowledge and your feedback. And if you want to check out the other people who have given their interviews with us, you can go to our YouTube channel and check that information out as well. With that said, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show. Thank you, everybody who's joining.
I just had a thought. There's
Yeah.
certain forces that might be a little bit afraid of what we're talking about here.
That what? Say that
might
again?
be a little bit afraid of the content of taking money out of the center of it all, because I just realized, oh, this is, oopsie. I'll get a bulletproof vest. So
I know you can't help it, Dan. It's okay.
I don't want to help it.
No, you don't.
Nope.
Just be you and your unique design of what you are. So with that said, guys, we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you for tuning in. Much love.
Much love. Thanks.
Bye now.